Hard Hat's all about showing up to play hard, doing what it takes to win.
If you want to cement legacy, win another.
He's your third center.
You don't want to pump him up too much, but it's hard not to.
This is maybe the most I've ever agreed with you.
Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to a Friday edition of the Garn Report. Another slow week, another quiet week in the Celtics world and the NBA. Well, some stuff going on around the NBA right now, but in terms of on-court basketball news, it's pretty quiet right now. And I want to get into the habit of bouncing around the league a little bit, looking at some of the other teams, seeing what's going on around the Eastern Conference mostly, but also a few interesting Western Conference teams from the Celtics perspective. And I think from a Boston standpoint right now, the Warriors are right up there with just about any team in terms of intrigue for the Celtics. Al Horford's probably going to end up there. Sam Esfandiari is here from Light Years Podcast. Been a minute, man. Great to talk to you. Great to have you here. And man, you guys have had a even quieter offseason. Nothing's happened in Warriors land.
I don't know how to even describe it, because on one level you have to laugh at we're at what, September 12th now, and they haven't made a move. On the other hand, it's getting to the point of panic where it's like, can we get closure on the Kuminga thing? Is Al Horford going to sign? Is DeAnthony Melton going to sign? All offseason, we've operated with the assumption that those are done deals. And, the understanding was they need to come to a conclusion with Kuminga first for cap order reasons. If they sign Al Horford to the taxpayer mid-level, that hard caps them. So there's the risk of that getting hard capped and then someone throwing an offer sheet to Kuminga that you can't match. So that's why they're trying to, that's why the signings haven't happened. There's also the world in which Kuminga gets moved and they open up the full mid-level exception, and someone like Horford would then get more money. Someone like DeAnthony Melton could potentially get more money. All this is in a holding pattern because of, the new CBA and the way it creates cap mechanics when you're over the cap and, what you can and can't do. But yeah, we're in September. Like, you know what this feels like to me? Are you a baseball fan?
Yep. I'm at Fenway tonight.
Oh, your boys are good. Honestly, it feels like what MLB free agency turns into with like Alex Bregman. You guys signed him like during spring training or like the day before spring training, and like these long drawn out.
And that's not good for the sport.
No, I don't mean it as a compliment. I just mean it's like, that's what it feels like. This Kuminga thing could go up until like the start of training camp, just because like by then, he needs a contract to play or not, right? Like, and that's kind of what baseball turned into, like this holding pattern and this stalemate until spring training begins, when it's like, okay, what's my best offer? Okay, I'm just gonna take it.
Yeah, and it confuses fans. It creates uncertainty for the teams and the players too. Like with Horford, and we'll get into Horford here. There's probably still some Celtics fans who are wondering, if things don't work out here, could he end up back on the Celtics? I don't think there's any chance of that happening. And Brad Stevens, about as close as an executive can to coming out and saying something definitively about something like this. Pretty much said in June he's gone. So I do not imagine there's a chance he'll be on the Celtics this year. But as fans watch this and it drags closer to training camp, I get why they wonder what's going to happen here. And there's always been the side of the reporting that he could retire. I've never taken that super seriously, just knowing that he wants to play multiple years beyond this year, my understanding of it. So
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is the reason that there's no chance he's coming back to the Celtics a cap related one, or is it because your team is clearly in a gap year with Tatum missing all of next season, and he wants to be on a team where he has a more realistic shot to compete into the playoffs?
So I can't speak a ton to his thinking. Just knowing him, he's a guy who I think values respect, who emphasizes the chance to win. So I think both of those are factors here, because I think the Celtics probably would have taken him back at the minimum. Like if you want to come back,
Got it.
play a little bit, probably come off the bench. He came off the bench last year behind Porzingis. Not that there's a great center in front of him necessarily, but you're not going to start him and play him 35 minutes on this kind of team, especially. So I think they welcomed him back. But, by all the reporting, Warriors are going to offer him mid-level. He's almost certainly going to start on this team, right? I'd imagine.
Yeah, I mean, Al Horford, even at his older age, probably more of a 20 than a 30-minute per game guy at this stage of his career. Like, he's on the short list of tailor-made to play in the Warriors system. Like, he does everything Steve Kerr wants a big man to do. He's a phenomenal passer, screen setter, can hit a jumper.
I can't wait to watch him on this system.
I like the real question is, do they want to start him and Draymond together, or do they want to do the thing where one of them comes off the bench? And I wouldn't be surprised if Draymond came off the bench, to be honest with you. But then you have 48 minutes of one of those veteran backline defenders. That would honestly, that's my preferred answer to this situation, because Draymond, he's not as old as Al, but he's getting older. He also can't play 40 minutes a game.
They're going to have to help each other out the way Porzingis and Horford did this last 2-year run.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I would not be surprised if Horford started and Draymond came off the bench. I would also not be surprised if they started all the old guys together out of respect and then just tried to stagger it. But anyway, you look at it, like, Quentin Post was a nice second round find. He's more in the, Luke Cornett range, like to pull it to a Celtics. Like he can shoot the ball. He's nice. He's a nice little 15-minute per game guy, and you hope
I don't think
more.
Post is getting $40 million.
I mean, he shoots 45% from 3 on volume again. He might, but let's see him do it for 2. Let's see him do it for more than season, right? So, nice find. Trace Jackson Davis, another nice second round find. Neither of these guys are exactly establishing themselves as the center of the future. They're just rotation pieces. So Al Horford would come in as the man, and whether it's as a starter or whether it's this understanding that we're bringing you off the bench, but you're closing games because you're one of our main guys. That's the way I view the situation.
Yeah. And so there's almost like this despondence among Celtics fans and people around this team. There's this understanding that they're heading downhill into this year, and guys are leaving, and stuff has to happen because of the cap. And so you look at this Horford situation, and I would have liked to have seen him come back, just knowing that he'd be there again, theoretically, when Tatum gets back for the following year. They don't have a sure thing at center right now. And, he's declined in certain ways, and we'll get into that conversation when we think about what he'll do with the Warriors here. But, to wrap his Celtics career, if this is going to be it is a bit of a bummer to me that they couldn't figure something out here, because I don't think anyone imagined, let's say, with the East semifinals now, 110 days ago, I don't think anyone would have imagined that he would have been gone in any scenario after this season. So the fact that it's such a surefire conclusion here is pretty stunning when you think about it. But once Tatum went down, there was this understanding that, all right, guys are going to leave. This team might not be as good. There's not this urgency to fill every position here. And so, as shocking as it would have been 110 days ago, whatever, I'm just throwing that number out here to say Horford would have been gone. Once it happened, or, once the reporting came out that that's going to happen, everyone was just like, all right, I guess Horford's gone. And I don't understand that, because I get it. The team's not going to be contending this year, so maybe it doesn't make total sense for him. They had a cap situation that they've since mostly settled. So I don't think the mid-level would have been devastating, maybe from a hard cap perspective for them. But I think this was a situation where Horford looked at and said, all right, you only give me the minimum, and not going to be starting, and we're not going to be contending. And the team looked at it and was like, we don't really need Al Horford for the year we're about to have here. He's about to be 40. Is this crucial that we do something like this? And they probably shrugged it off. So I'd call it mutual. I think Horford probably would have wanted to stay. if it was ideal. I mean, his family's here and all that, and this is where he's been for the bulk of the last handful of years of his career. And the team, in the best case scenario, probably would have kept him if they were all in on trying to compete this year. But both those things didn't happen, and now it looks like they're headed for parting ways, which, I don't think is the worst thing ever, but I think most Celtics fans would rather see Horford back.
I mean, I kind of think it sucks, to be honest with you, from a Celtics perspective. I think this is what I really dislike about the new CBA. Al Horford, yeah, you guys didn't draft him, but when I think of him as a Celtic. He's played, 10 years on the Celtics? Something in that range. Like, he's going to go down as a legend of the franchise. I'm not out here calling him, Larry Bird or Bill Russell or anything, but, like, he's going to be a remembered player. Does he get his jersey
I think his
retired?
number should be retired. There's debate over that, and I think if you're setting some hard standards, he probably wouldn't meet them. But I think the spirit of his career here was warranted of it. He was their first major free agent signing ever.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, and I agree with you there. And like my general, fan perspective on this sort of thing is like you want to see guys like that retire with the team. I think it kind of sucks when guys do the 1 to 2 year swan song bouncing around a couple teams. And maybe that's just reality. Maybe that's just how it goes. But it does feel like one of those unintended consequences of the new, more punitive CBA that has teams thinking more, about avoiding, to your point, like getting hard capped and the money and everything. And I guess it is what it is. This is the reality we live in, but it does kind of suck that he doesn't get to retire a Celtic and, he's going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, and this situation makes sense. We'll get to what he looks like as a Warrior and what this Warriors team looks like next year. It's one of the more fascinating teams in the league to me in this year ahead here. And obviously it's a short window that they're going to have to take advantage of here. First, I want to give a shout out to Prize Picks, who are giving you the best experience every football weekend here. And this is the best time of year to play Prize Picks. My fantasy season's already teetering a little bit. In one weekend, it's extreme to say that, but injuries start happening. You didn't pick the right guys. You don't have the right players at the right positions. And all of a sudden you're like, all right, can I get a do-over? Prize Picks gives you that chance. Every single week you can build a new team over on Prize Picks during football season. And whether it's more or less than one rushing touchdown for Saquon Barkley, more or less than 2.5 passing touchdowns for Joe Burrow, all you got to do is pick 2 or more player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in. They put their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. And they also offer injury reboots, and that's the best part. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks won't count it as a loss. They also invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out. Even if your lineup isn't perfect, you can double your money. Even if one of your picks doesn't hit, make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long on Prize Picks. Baseball is going on now, women's basketball, so you can combine, mix and match players from different leagues. It's a fun experience over there, and I like just logging in to the app to see what they think any player is going to do on any given night. So head over there, use the code CLNS, get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup over on Prize Picks. That's $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Code CLNS. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. So what's your expectation for the work? Let's say Horford's in. Well, the Kuminga thing's the big thing, right? Because that's the uncertainty. Is he back? Is he back on this 1-year qualifying offer? Is he gone in some side? That seems to be the least likely scenario at this point. So let's say it's Kuminga in some scenario, Horford, Melton, and Gary Payton back. What's this team capable of? They were pretty good after Jimmy Butler arrived.
I mean, dude, they have 9 players on their roster right now. Like, I don't even know how to answer these questions. On the one hand, like you, I'm somewhat optimistic because the way Steph and Jimmy played together, like there's a clear formula. It works. It led to winning. I see the vision. On the other hand, I need to see them fill out the roster. You mentioned Kuminga. they're in a holding pattern. He's clearly not a long-term piece for them, but he can help them in the short term. And what's more important to them is to get him on a contract they can trade. In some ways, there's a lot of similarities between him and Anthony Simons for the Celtics.
There we go.
Obviously, there's a little more scar tissue and hard feelings on the Warriors side here, but like ultimately, same exact role. They know he can give them buckets. They know he can score the ball, which is, useful, particularly over the course of the season. Young legs, more important for the Warriors than the Celtics at this point. And then a nice $20-ish million expiring contract at the deadline to potentially upgrade your roster. Seems like that's kind of how the Celtics are looking at Anthony Simons, even if they don't say it. Warriors are a little more transparent about that with Kuminga, with the offers they're putting in front of him. But he still hasn't accepted it. It's still unclear what's going there. So this is all my roundabout way of saying, yeah, I'm kind of optimistic about this team. I definitely liked how they closed the year. I like the way Steph and Jimmy play together. I like the way Al Horford's going to fit into that. DeAnthony Melton looked like he was going to be awesome for the Warriors before the injury. If he's healthy, he's a great little piece. Moses Moody and Brandon Pajemski continue to get better. There's a lot of things that are interesting, but I need them to actually complete the roster first.
Yeah, for sure. And if that
9
happens,
players, Bobby. They have 9 players under contract, and we're in mid-September.
yeah, it's hard to believe. Like this isn't something we've really even seen before. A roster being this incomplete on the verge of training camp. So I'm just imagining what it's going to look like with all those pieces intact. And whether Kuminga's there as a tradable piece or this expiring, who's probably going to leave at the end of the year, I have questions in either scenario about how he's going to fit into this. And that's a big question because he's one of a number of players who are going to be able to actually fill minutes for this team. And last year continued to go sideways in terms of his involvement and his success and his role and all of that. So that's beyond the contract, a big question for this team. How much are they going to use him? How much are they invested in his development? How useful is he alongside all these other players we're talking about here? And that's where this thing, like, it's definitely a contract fiasco, but it's also a development mishap that continues to plague them. And we're going to get into the comparison where the Celtics are in a minute here, but that's as much as it's great they won the championship right in 2022 and they've had success since, and they've extended the Steph Curry run beyond what you guys probably could have imagined. They've also botched the development side of things, and they've probably cost themselves even more success because of that.
Yeah, I mean, this gets back to the heart of the issue, which is drafting very raw players that you don't have the capacity to develop. I mean, the James Wiseman pick it's up there with like Darko Milicic as like an all-time bust type of pick. And it's not to say he wasn't talented and I didn't understand why he went in the lottery, but for the Warriors specific team, taking a raw big man who displayed none of the skills required to play in the system around Steph Curry, like the fact it went the way it did is so predictable, right? Just very predictable. And then Kuminga, I would honestly blame ownership more than anything, because Kuminga's not a bad player. He's somewhere in the middle of we're not sure what he is versus he's clearly an NBA guy. Like there's days, one of the most popular comps for him is Jaylen Brown. And there's moments he looks like him, but it is a moments thing. You know what I'm saying? And so he goes on one of these runs where the athleticism and the two-way play looks so promising. And it's like, all right, just be patient. We might have the next Jaylen Brown here, you know? And then it goes a different direction. And clearly there's issues with the head coach and him. And I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, Steve Kerr is a pretty easygoing coach. He is pretty transparent with what he wants. Most people are going to look at that as the young player being the issue, not Steve Kerr being the issue. Steve Kerr doesn't have an issue playing other young players who fit into his system, you know? And he is a 4-time championship head coach. So, you know, you can say it's a little like hard, you know, like old school, or, you know, he's being a little too rigid, but like the reality of the matter is I can't think of another third-year player of his stature who leaked to Shams, I'm losing faith in my head coach, you know? So where I get to the blame on ownership is it's very clear that he lacks a certain maturity and there's not a great fit there, they should have moved him probably 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But they kept falling in love with the potential. They kept falling in love with the mid-January. He goes on a 10-game run where he's averaging 20 and 5 and 52% from the field, and like multiple wow athletic plays a game, and let's just keep committed to it, and it always ends in the same place. So it's like it's the lack of decisiveness that I think has really got us to this point.
Yeah, and when a guy's 22 still at this point, you're always
Sure.
going to look at the potential and the flashes when he got to take over the team and be, in a primary role. And I think that always looks good for most guys with potential when they get to do everything and have the ball and all that. And I think the Jalen comparison's somewhat valid in that sense because you've seen him flash in certain opportunities where he's gotten to do more. That's going to be the story of this Celtics season to some degree too. I mean, he's been able to fit in and step up concurrently alongside Tatum, and that's where it hasn't worked for Kuminga because when he's had to try to fit in with the other older players here, it
Sure.
hasn't gone as well. And when he's gotten more opportunity, you see the flashes, but it's too inconsistent, and that's where things didn't work out there. And I still like his potential. He's probably worth $20 million a year just for that alone. But to this team and what they're trying to do, probably not. And now they're stuck because they can't take money back for that at this point.
I don't think we give Jaylen Brown and to a lesser degree Jason Tatum enough credit for being able to develop in an environment that never really bottomed out. Like what Kuminga clearly wants is the ball in his hands, 25 shots a game to figure it out. He wants to be on the Washington Wizards, He wants to be on
that's never a
team.
Good sign.
Yeah, and that's the other part of it. It's like it just lets you know his mentality is me first. I care about scoring more. And every young player has the mentality of I want to prove myself. I want to prove I can be an all-star in this league. But what always interested me about the Celtics and the Jays was they were able to develop in an environment that truly never bottomed out, So there was always kind of a standard of like, I know you want to shoot the ball 20 times. And you very may well, but like the most important thing is we win, and I'm going to coach you through the context of winning. And if you're not doing the right things, you may be coming off the bench for periods of time, which happened to someone like Jaylen Brown, when they had Gordon Hayward and other guys. And they never lost, I guess, sight of the bigger goal and stayed committed to it in a way that has not necessarily happened with Kuminga. And to be clear, I'm not putting it all on him. The organization has a lot of failure here, but I think the number one biggest one is not identifying that it wasn't going to work and moving off of it quicker.
Yeah, and Brown, Tatum, I'd say the low for them was probably 2021, and those were still individual highs for them during that period. They got to play through a mediocre season and some of the highs and lows for themselves at that point. I was just thinking about it the other day. There's a different discussion to be had here about what that's going to look like going forward. But 2021, probably a decent case to break those guys up. 2022, the calls got loud, especially mid-season when they were stuck at 500 and just wasn't working. Then they make the finals. 2023, you have another opportunity there. Durant, a conversation at that point. Do you trade Brown for Durant? So there were 3 seasons in a row where there was legitimate conversation probably about breaking those guys up. And the fact that they didn't and they end up figuring out to the point where they win a championship, I think speaks a lot to the organization. And that's where, you're talking about the Warriors and their decision-making here. Like they had to make some deliberate decisions about where they were going. And it worked out in 2022. Everything came together and they won improbably. But it hasn't put them in the best position now. And they're still in a decent position somehow. Like you get Jimmy for the price they did. The Wiggins thing, turns into that. Like they still have a chance to win an NBA championship this year. I'd say it's a small one, but they do have among let's say 6, 7, 8 teams here, a legitimate chance of doing it if everything comes together. I still point to that record. What is it, 23-7 or something like that with Jimmy?
Yeah.
Like that's elite.
And that's why the Kuminga situation ends up so frustrating because clearly he is the chip that can swing this thing. There's the small chance that this is the year he puts it all together and is that 2A athletic force that really would supplement it. But there's the more realistic path, which is he's a $20 million trade chip that can get you the type of younger pieces to complement what clearly works. Like, clearly we know you can build a winner around Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green. It's just a question of, can they get enough high level pieces around those guys? Can a young guy take a leap? Can this be the year Brandon Podziemski takes a big leap? Like, he looked really good at the end of last year. Can this be the year Moses Moody takes a leap? Like these type of things. They do feel like an incomplete roster. So I think your assessment of them is correct. They're not a tier 1 team. Like, if you were to say who's the most likely team to win a title this year, I'd go like, I don't know, OKC or Denver. Like, probably those would be my bets. But they are in that.
Yeah, there too. But they're in that middle of the West pack.
They're in that. I think that there's 10 teams that I would say would not surprise me if they won a title, and they're on that list. And that's not to say that they all have equal shots. Some of those teams need a lot more things to go their way than the other. And I'd put the Warriors on that list of like second tier, like you said, like 9 teams that, like, yeah, they have the core infrastructure. And if a couple things break their way, young guy breaks out, right veteran stays healthy, I could see it. It wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me. Charlotte winning the title would shock me, like that's kind of where I'm at with it. Right.
Yeah, and that's the fun part now, is there are a lot of teams that can say they can do it. And I like where the NBA is at in that sense. I want to take a quick break, man, to get my talking ability back here. Game Time right now, great time to head over to Game Time. There's all kinds of events going on, all kinds of concerts, baseball games. We're about to get playoffs in the MLB. Will the Giants be there, Sam? I don't know. I want to see Devers in the playoffs, but it's not looking good. Red Sox are going to be there. We can do a Devers second at the end of the show here.
Let's do it.
You got football going on. Pats are down in Miami. If you're down there, want to take a trip down for the weekend, go see them down there. Great deals over at Game Time. And it's an important time to go over there, show them we sent you, show your support for the Garden Report by supporting Game Time. And it's a great experience, so it's worth your while. Your total up front. There's no surprise fees at checkout, so the price you see is the price you get when it comes to tickets over there. You can save even more when you choose a section like Game Time, choose your seats. Lots of great features like that. Snag new ticket deals before anyone finds out by following your favorite teams in the Game Time app to receive alerts. And my favorite one, going back years before we even partnered with them here, the seat views. You can see what you're looking at. If you're going to a concert, not sure about the venue, you're going to see your panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. That's my favorite part of using Game Time. And with the lowest price guarantee, they'll guarantee your ticket or credit you 110% of the difference. That's the lowest price guarantee. And your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Use code CLNS for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Again, terms apply. And another Boston connection, 49ers starting Mac Jones for a couple weeks. That's going to be fun.
It is, yeah. I didn't even think about it, but yeah, you got Devers and Mac Jones. There's a lot of Bay Area Boston synergy right now.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that one. I hope he can still get back on his feet. I like Mac. All right, let's talk about my favorite topic we wanted to get into here today, because I started thinking about this early in the offseason. Are the Celtics in the position the Warriors were in 2020? And there's the immediate negative there of the Warriors went, 15-50 that year or something like that. They were just awful.
Well, then a global pandemic hit. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So
perfect way to cap off a terrible season.
The downside of that 15-50 season is you're going to have to go through that if you're the Celtics potentially this season. And of course, Klay Thompson was down for the year with the ACL tear coming off the finals. Curry gets hurt almost immediately. Your 2 stars are down, and it's a tank season. And that's okay. There's a lot of talk about, are the Celtics going to tank this year? I don't think that's possible unless something like that happens. If Jalen goes down with something into the season, Tatum's out for the year, more things go wrong beyond that, then you're talking about being one of the worst teams in the league this year. If everything's available here, you're going to be decent at the very least, I think. So that's the first and foremost. You end up picking 2. You pick the wrong guy in James Wiseman. But the core is still intact enough for the main guys with some help to figure it out and win a championship 2 years later. And I think that's all in play for the Celtics here. Now, it would help if they got a top draft pick to take the right guy, develop accordingly, mix those prospects in with Tatum and Brown. But Tatum and Brown are here into the future. So there is the prospect 2 years from now that you could be in championship contention again. But as you guys saw, that year without Tatum could be potentially horrible. Do you think that's how it's going to play out for the Celtics?
I don't, for 2 reasons, like what you mentioned. One, you would need Jaylen Brown to miss the entire year. You would need something like that to happen, and then all of a sudden Derek White's, being load managed to death because they know that there's nothing going on there, right? Like that. I think with the roster you guys have assembled, if you have normal health, they're a playoff team in the East, and that's the second reason why. The West for the last, decade plus has been a gauntlet. This might be the weakest East of the last decade with all the injuries that went down. And I'm just looking at the teams. I'm like, I think Jaylen Brown could lead a team to a top 4 seed this year. I'm not saying that's what will happen, but I have a very hard time imagining a team with Jaylen Brown, Derek White. You mentioned Peyton Pritchard, very well coached team. Ton of shooting, like Sam Hauser can shoot the hell out of the ball. Players across the roster can shoot the ball. They feel like a 45-win team to me. 50 if everything breaks right, 40-ish if things break poorly, and then there's always everyone got hurt and we decided to check out every main Red Claw player we could for the rest of the season. Tank year. So I mean, it's always a possibility, but I think you outlined it correctly. Short of a massive injury changing the way they look at the season, I can't see it.
Yeah, and I do think 30s is possible if guys who need to play more don't pan out. The Chris Boucher edition was nice. I think that swings things upward a little bit because they didn't have a 4 without Tatum before he arrived, so that helps.
Yeah.
Kata's going to have to play a full season at center, which he's never done in his career before, so that's another question here.
And then they're not Xavier Tillman.
I keep getting that question. I want to get an answer there at some point in the near future because it's not a big question, but can he even play basketball right now? He didn't play after November, so that's another question for them this year. Is his knee in a spot where he can actually play for this team? Because if he can, yeah, that's another rotation player that you're not even thinking about right now. A guy who can fill in at the 4 and defend and all that. It's a bummer how last year went for him. That was one of a number of things that went wrong and didn't allow them to repeat the way you might have thought they would have. That one's not high up on the list, but it's an underrated story. So yeah, I am in a similar camp as you. I think they're going to be solid. I think the beginning of the season is going to be rocky as everyone tries to fill in the bigger roles, but I think Jalen's capable. I'm excited about seeing what he's able to do in that top spot. I think Pritchard's going to have a massive year. Every time he plays 30, 40 minutes, he ends up having a huge game. So I could see that playing out on a full season scale. We saw it from last year winning the 6th man. And I was just thinking yesterday, this could be a big year for White too. He's another guy, more shots, more opportunities, ends up having 25, 30-point games sometimes. I mean,
he's a great player. He's awesome. I know the Warriors adore him.
That was a conversation, right?
They were never going to pay the price.
Mikal Bridges thing for him. Maybe it would have been worth it. I don't know.
They wouldn't have done it. Maybe they should have done it because I really can't think of a player who fits better at that 2-guard position next to Steph Curry than Derek White. Just considering, he can handle the ball, so he can get Steph off ball. He shoots the hell out of the ball, and he's
a screen setter too.
One of the best defenders in the league. So if I was to put on paper the perfect player to put next to Steph, it's his skill set. So you could argue that they should have. I mean, they have DeAnthony Melton coming back, who has a similar skill set, obviously not as high level, but he's coming off of a knee injury, but is clearly a archetype of player that they value more than anything, given the way Steph likes to play.
Yeah, for sure. So is it better for the Celtics to stay afloat this year, be competitive, get through that gap year, make the playoffs potentially with Brown intact, or is it better for them to be in position to take the top pick? Because that's the debate right now among fans. Do you want to tank and have the ability to draft one of the best players in this upcoming class and add them to the Tatum Brown mix? Or do you not want to go through a year that devastating and have everything that comes with that?
I mean,
I don't think anyone wants to sit through a tank year, but then the things that come out of it on the other side can end up being good long term. It's just there's no guarantees with it anymore. And that's why I make this Warriors comparison, because Wiseman, Kuminga, Moody did not yield what you thought it would have at that time.
Well, the difference is you have Brad Stevens making decisions, and that was the peak of the Warriors ownership interfering and wanting to be the GM.
We don't
themselves.
know about Brad's draft abilities necessarily yet, though. He's been
True.
a great GM, but he hasn't had to make a top 10 pick, let's say.
That's true. He hasn't, but I generally trust his eye when it comes to basketball. I just can't see him taking a Wiseman or a Kuminga, if I'm being honest with you. Like, I think he's got. I think he's been around the block too much to see the red flags on picks like that.
Who should they have taken over Wiseman?
Tyrese Halliburton?
That's the easy one. I don't know if that was realistic, though. It probably would have been LaMelo, right?
What we know is the Warriors scouts like Tyrese Halliburton more than they like Wiseman and LaMelo, but they didn't want to trade back because they're too enamored with getting a star top 3 pick. We also know that the Wolves offered them the number 1 pick to get their 2021 pick and the number 2 pick back, which in history would have turned into Anthony Edwards for Wiseman and Kuminga. So not great picks. I mean, you can look at it the following year. Franz Wagner went the pick after Kuminga. Trey Murphy and Alperen Şengün went the 2 picks directly after Moses Moody. We can all play this game with the draft, but to have 3 lottery picks and not have any of them pan out in the way you wanted when other guys did, it's kind of sucks. I don't know what else to say. I'll be honest with you. What they should have done is traded the picks. They should have traded the picks to get an impact guy next to Steph, given how good he was at that stage. It is what it is, though. Yeah,
it is what it is because they won the title. And in spite of all that going wrong, they were still able to do that. So I don't know if you change history, if you could go back, given that ended up happening there. Like, it worked out. Maybe not because of those things, but if you alter things a little bit, do they still end up winning the title? I don't know. That's the hope for the Celtics, that they can figure it out in 2 years, and Tatum, Brown, whatever they have around them at that point, still good enough. The only other thing I'll add about Horford before we wrap here, it's going to be like a 2-year deal, right? With a second-year player option, probably. I do wonder if maybe he spends a year in Golden State, they go for the title, and if the situation's right in Boston, come back for 1 more year with Tatum. Like, I do wonder if that's maybe in the back of his head making a move like this right now. I don't know that. But the setup of that contract at least makes me think that's a possibility.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, he's not Draymond Green, like essentially married to the organization, where there's a little more conversation with a guy like that. Like, he's coming in here. I think he'll fit in perfectly with their core guys, just personality and basketball wise. Like, he's a perfect fit. But you never know.
Love him.
I mean, he's been one of my favorite players who's not been on the Warriors for a long time. It's just like, there's certain guys you watch that you're just like, that guy was meant to play with Steph Curry in this system. Like, everything I said about Derek White also applies to Al Horford. I'm like, I can already see like the 2-man game with Steph, the screen setting, the passing. He's going to be perfect. Like, he's so good at so many things that matter to the Warriors system and essentially matter to winning, which, go figure. He's been on a lot of winning teams over the years.
He's going to be missed here, and hopefully there is one last hurrah for him before his career ends in Boston, if it works out that way. But I think Celtics fans are generally going to be rooting for him out there. Who knows, though? These fans are kind of all over the place with their opinions on stuff like that. Before we wrap, Devers. So I can't imagine. I never could have imagined this is where it'd be at all these months later after it happened. I was ready to be done with the Red Sox after that, in the wake of the Mookie stuff and where their season was at that point. And what they traded for him for and in the manner they did, it was like, all right, this is the Red Sox experience now. Like, I'm done. And months later, the Giants have been one of the worst teams in the league since the trade, and the Red Sox have been one of the best teams in the league because of the trade. And I'm not going to attribute it to that, but obviously it's a factor on both sides. Devers
have you watched the Giants recently? They're the hottest team. They're the hottest team in baseball. They're 2 games out of the wild card right now.
So they're making that push.
Yeah, Devers has probably been the hottest hitter in the National League for the last month. But yes, the first 2 months post trade, it did not look good. It did not look good.
That's what I was just about to say. I'm not gonna. They still need Devers, in my opinion. Especially now, he's playing first base and he figured that all out. It's like, okay, like, did you really have to do all that on both sides of things? Because Devers is one of the best hitters in the league. Like, you don't just give that up. So I still stand by the fact that it was a terrible trade. They didn't get anything back that you still look at right now, other than the money, which they haven't used, and say, all right, they have that to work with now. So I still look at the Devers trade and I'm still pissed, and I still think it was a terrible move for Boston. But they've done enough other right things, and they have enough prospects and intriguing young players where they might end up being fine without him. Like, it's hard to not say that, given that here they are on the verge of still being in the mix for the 1 seed in the AL. So I don't know, where are you at on it all these months later?
I mean, you are correct. The Red Sox are a very good team, and they would be a better team with Rafael Devers in their lineup. But it's also true. It seems like trading him opened up a spot for Roman Anthony, who looks every bit the part of like the promised superstar top prospect that he was built to be. So there's that. I mean, when I look at it from like the Bay Area and the Giants perspective, it's wild to me how much talent the Red Sox have come through their system. Cause like the Giants needed someone like Rafael Devers. They have not had a star since Buster Posey's prime. They have not had, do you know the Giants have not had a 30 home run hitter since Barry Bonds?
I heard 21, that. Yeah.
21 years. So they have not had a guy like Rafael Devers for like 20 years here we're talking about. So they were desperate for it. And meanwhile, I'm looking at the Red Sox. The trade was a bad trade for the Red Sox. Like, you did not get enough back for him other than clearing money. And you gave another team like the middle of the order bat that they desperately wanted. They were still able to do that and be fine because their farm has produced so many good players over the last couple of years. And I'm just thinking for like the Giants perspective, how much they would die to have like 50% of the players that have come through Boston. Like they would kill for Jarren Duran. They would kill for Roman Anthony or Wilyer Abreu, or just like so many players who've come through Boston system through their drafting or international signings or whatever it may be. And turned into like not just good players, but like star caliber players. So I don't know. It's like you can look at it both ways, because I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong in saying like he did just kind of give up a guy who would hit at the top of the lineup for nothing because there was some personality conflict.
And it coming in such close proximity to the Mookie thing, which is legitimately going to be something people talk about for decades around here. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's the other part of it. It's like, how on earth do they keep unearthing all these like prodigious talents, and then how on earth do they keep letting them go? Like
that's the key.
Like
I mean,
it's both sides of it, right?
Yeah, and they signed Anthony, which is great. Like, they needed to do that, and not that that's going to keep him here forever, but it was a good first long-term deal to give him. We were debating this before we wrap here in one of our group chats the other day. In a year or two from now, who's going to be the biggest star in Boston? Is it Anthony or is it Tatum?
It's probably Anthony. I think.
Wow.
I'm very bullish on what I've seen over what is essentially a half a season of baseball. Like, that is
it's been unreal.
That is a very good
like
fucking player. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, if he continues on that type of development trajectory, it has nothing to do with Tatum. It's just, you're talking about he might be the best player in baseball.
Well, the injury's
going to
hurt Tatum too. Like, that's
Yeah,
a
and then
factor here as well.
Tatum's going to be post-injury into his 30s. Like, it's going to be a different town at that point, right? So
I'm still leaning Tatum just because where basketball and baseball are at, but I get the argument. And there's already an energy in Fenway Park when Roman comes up to the plate, not knowing him fully, not having this town super locked into baseball again. That's what I'm excited about here. October's about to arrive. They're going to be in the playoffs. Hopefully it's at Fenway. I hate the stupid wild card thing where you might not even get a home game, but they are about to, be back in people's minds. And I didn't think that was possible a couple years ago. They had the nice 21 run, but baseball has been down in this city for a long time, and it looks like it's about to be back here. We got Red Sox Yankees this weekend. We'll have some coverage of that.
That's another Bay Area Boston similarity. It's kind of the Giants are obviously massively popular, but
what's the ranking right now in teams?
I mean, Steph Curry is a global icon. So
but
what I was saying is it's pretty much been a Warriors town for the last 10 years. And the Giants, I mean, they had like a 17-year sellout streak that stopped after a while. And now, since they've got Devers and Posey's running the show, you can feel the energy going back towards them. It doesn't feel like it did during their, title run years of the early 10s, but it feels like it's trending in that direction. Until Steph retires, he's the king of the Bay Area. But I'd also be lying if I said like the 49ers are still king. Football is always king around this part. The Patriots are down very bad right now, but if they turn it around, I have no doubt that they'll be the most popular team in the New England region again. Football is just football's football. Like it kind of exists in a different space than basketball and baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care about them much right now at all, given how the last 5 years have gone, but you'd still hear it on the radio, on our network, the Patriots stuff still banging. Like, people care, even when you're at the bottom, like they've been for a couple of years here now. So it has that kind of power.
And there is that similarity with like the 20-year run with Brady. Like, there's generations who are just addicted to them because every year they were good. And half the years they won a damn title, is the same thing with the 49ers in the Bay Area with the 80s and 90s winning 5 titles over 15 years. And just like the Joe Montana, Steve Young thing that you just, the amount people care about them mixed in with the amount America cares about football more than anything, like they will just always be the most dominant local story.
He's Sam Esfandiari. They have a great podcast, Light Years, over on Blue Wire. Check that out for Warriors Talk. And it's a great show you guys do. You're one of my favorite voices around the Warriors. And thanks for stopping by here on the Garden Report. Hopefully we'll have you on when Al's playing for the Warriors and you guys get your first impressions of him. But it's going to be fun. Hopefully they figure that thing out before training camp.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you guys.
All right. And everybody else, check out Prize Picks. Use the code CLNS over there. Check out the Game Time app. Again, head over there. Help us out with our coverage here as basketball season gets going. Big time over at Game Time to use code CLNS for $20 off. Terms apply. Of course, subscribe to all of our channels here at CLNS Media, Celtics All Access, Patriots Press Pass for the game coverage this weekend. Great stuff from those guys. The Pat's going to get back on their feet. Bruins Rinkside, their season's about to get going. And we are just about 2 weeks from Media Day here in Boston with the Celtics. So subscribe to Celtics All Access. Warriors and Spurs fan. I mean, I'll be following the Spurs closely this year, needless to say. The Warriors are intriguing to me. I don't think there'll be fandom there. The Magic and the Rockets are going to be the teams to watch with me this year. I love what the Rockets have going into the season, the Ime factor, all that as well. And then you guys knew how much I love that Orlando team in the first round and what they added this offseason. We talked about with Michael Pina. They could even be in the finals this year. Orlando could. So Rockets, Magic, if you want to call me a fan this year, those are going to be the teams I'm locked in on. Interested in seeing what they're going to do. But yeah, basketball season's about to get going here. We're going to have some more guests. We're going to have some more national voices, seeing what they think of the Celtics. It's been a mixed array of expectations for what the Celtics are going to do this year. Some people are high on them. You heard Sam say he thinks they're going to be in the middle of the East. You've heard Pina say that they're going to be the 12 seed. So it's all over the place. John thinks they're going to be terrible. Me and Noah think they're going to be solid. So I've been interested to hear the mixed opinions on this team, and we're about to actually see what it looks like in just a matter of weeks here. So it's that time of year. Stay locked in. Turn on your notifications when news breaks. Hopefully we'll get a full squad show going here. We're going to have Noah Eagle on Monday from NBC, who's going to be calling all the big games over there as they take over NBA coverage this year. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be Monday morning around 10, 11 a.m. If you want to throw that in your calendar. He's been on here before. A great friend of mine, went to Syracuse with him and doing big things. So excited to see what he thinks of the Celtics. He's a big Celtics optimist, I'd say, just from my conversations with him over the years. Loves Tatum, loves Brown, stuff they're doing. So we'll see what he thinks about them without Tatum this year. And that's it for us today. We have Red Sox coverage again tonight, Saturday, Sunday, all 3 days. We're going to be over at Fenway for this Yankee series. So follow along with me over there. If you're interested in that, subscribe to the Red Sox Clubhouse channel here. And we might have some podcasting going on that front soon as well. So stay tuned for all of that. And I am Bobby Manning. This has been a Friday edition of the Garn Report. We'll talk to you at Fenway Park this weekend. Peace.
No one's sneaking a vegan brownie by me, I'll tell you that.
Okay, you know what, John? We're going to do it.
You have to feel that way too, Bobby.
I have to feel that way.
Say it.
Let's fly out over and make Luke your first center.
Bobby, we gave you Luke an hour early. We're not going to end this on a damn conversation about Luke